gentlemen, welcome to the Darkstone Dossiers with your host, Anthony Darkstone.
Greetings. Buonasera a tutti. Buonanotte, buenas noches, and bonsoir. Very good evening and a good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're watching this on the planet. Now, why am I using these languages? Well, as some of the regular folks will know, the SAM, of which this is a production, is an international organization, and anybody, anywhere in the world can join. You don't have to be an American. In a moment, our president will put up in the chat a link, which is magicsam.com/International Assembly. When the show's over, go there, click on the little button that says International Assembly, and everything you need to know is there. And we would love you to come and join us. Now, we have a 10-hour show, which I am now going to hopefully cram into about an hour. Before we do, I would like to acknowledge most illustrious, which is how we address the president of the Society of American Magicians. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Joel Zaritsky.
Shalom. And I'm saying that because it's Passover. So unfortunately, the only other Hebrew words I know is Abba, Ima, and Kof, which is monkey. I don't know why I know that one, but it's true. But hi, everybody. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Tony.
Oh, always a pleasure, most illustrious, and shalom to you. And I'm going to show off now with one of the three Hebrew words I know, which is toda, which means thank you. You'd think I would have learned more after all the time I've spent in Israel. But there we are. Never mind. Let's just get on. Let's just get on with the show. So before we do, I would like to acknowledge a gentleman here. His name is Rod Chow. He is currently our first vice president of the SAM, and as of July will become the president-elect. He is from Canada and also a member of the SAM International Assembly and other assemblies as well. Ladies and gentlemen, our first VP, Mr. Rod Chow.
Thank you, Anthony. It's so great to be here this afternoon, evening, and to be on this special show with J. Scott Berry, who I've known for many, many years because he came to Vancouver to lecture for us back in the day. And so excited to hear more from him. Excited to hear this interview and enjoy, everyone.
Thank you very, very much indeed, First Vice President, Mr. Rod Chow. Contrary to popular opinion, J. Scott Berry tends to show up in about 7 different places at the same time. Quite how he does that, I don't know. Well, actually, I do. He gave me the instructions, but I'm not sharing them. One of the times was at a particular gentleman's house in New York. Let me bring that gentleman back in again to tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's very true. He actually lectured here at the Batcave, which was the most amazing lecture ever, period. So thank you, Jay.
My pleasure, Joel. Thank you. Great to see you again.
Great to see. Thank you very much for showing up here, Jay. Normally, we run a little clip, as most of the regular attendees will know, of our guest. But this time, I thought, you know what? We've got a couple of clips to play during the show, and I'm going to ask you to perform. That's one of the perks about being the host and the director of a show. You know, you get to choose stuff that nobody argues with. So this is my favorite. So over to you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. J. Scott Berry.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Rod. Great to see everyone here. It's my pleasure. This is great. This will actually go back. We're sort of going to take a whole journey of magic. And this is this perfect opportunity because the story of this routine goes all the way back to 1978. When I had just turned 18, I got a job working at Hollywood Magic. Well, and one of the gentlemen who was working there was a brilliant magician. Most of you know him, Earl Nelson. Okay, Earl Nelson, to me, still one of the greatest close-up artists I ever worked with. And he showed me his ring and ribbon routine, and it got me inspired about ring and ribbon. And that sort of fills in so much of what we do as magicians, to be able to inspire others. And this whole idea of standing on the shoulders of giants, something we'll be talking about as we go. And so this will start at the beginning. Perfect chance. The magician opens up our eyes to the wonders all around us, using coins, cards, rings, and silks to inspire and astound us. Now, some may say it's just a trick, but I suggest this strong appeal. The effects may be illusion, but the experience is real. And here we go.
Wow.
It's magic.
Thank you, Jay.
So one of my favorite effects.
Absolutely love it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you know I do. Yeah. It's why I kind of twist your arm into doing it as an opening. I'm very, very quickly going to just say that I've met this young man, well, relatively young man, when I was also a relatively middle-aged man. It was at a convention in Europe, and I'd heard his name, but I didn't know him. And I was watching him, and I thought, well, I'll just see this guy at his booth doing his stuff, and then I'll go watch the lecture. Well, about an hour and a half later, forget the lecture, I'm still standing there burning his hands. And it just blew me away. We then got together, started chatting, found that apart from magic, we had a number of things in common. And, it was one of those kind of love at first sight. And we became kind of like brother wizards. And that's basically how we met. But I want to get Jay to talk about how he met some of the greats. He mentioned one name and one gentleman, respect and RIP to his memory, was dear Johnny Thompson. So, Jay, please share with us some of that.
Wow. Thank you, Anthony. And yeah, I remember our meeting very well. So we'll come back to that when we met at the convention 20 years ago. But there are a handful of magicians who have played absolute key roles in my life and career, but none are more so than Johnny Thompson. I grew up in Reno, Nevada, and there were no magic clubs, very, very few magicians. So I was in a vacuum. And when I was 16 years old, I opened the magazine and I saw this advertisement for the great Thompsoni. And with all the just simple, silly bravado of youth, I called backstage. I picked up the phone, called backstage. I'd like to talk to Mr. Great Thompsoni. And it was this moment where he answered the phone. They sent it backstage to his dressing room. I introduced myself. And there was this absolute life-changing moment where he could have told me to bugger off. He could have said, I don't have time for you. I don't know, 1,000 things. But he said, wow, would you like to come down and see the show? Just like that. All I had to do, introduce myself and say, I'm a magician. He said, come down the next day. I brought my girlfriend and I came down. He was so gracious. He and Pam were just instantly welcoming me like a father. When it came time to the show, he had I was under 21, of course, so in the casinos, we were not allowed in the showroom. He took me up into the light booth where he had 2 chairs already set up for me and my girlfriend. And I watched the most amazing magic show of my life. It was this absolute dream come true. So he was the one who, over succession of simple building the friendship, he said, look, you've got to go down to Los Angeles. You should join the junior members of the Magic Castle. And he basically set up this amazing roadmap, for the most part, which I followed. And then he lived in Burbank when I moved to Los Angeles. So we continued that friendship up until literally the time that he left us to the great Magic Castle in the sky.
Wow. That's amazing. Now, like I said, we're trying to cram a 10 or 20 hour show into possibly an hour. And, we could talk forever about your travels around the planet, about FISM, about so many things. I mean, those of us who know you and those who don't can easily look it up. But I want to give folks a kind of little taste of something. And we have got, with your permission, a video called, I believe, Salute to Magic, where you're doing a couple of little things there. And I just wanted to share that. I mean, I have like a ton of videos, which, and folks don't know, by the way, well, some of you do, that to do a show of this nature, I spend literally weeks and possibly sometimes months with my guest, and we go through things, and, you know, it's a lot of stuff that's done. The idea being is so that we can just make it look and feel, you know, spontaneous, and that the attendees have fun. You're all magicians, you're all performers, so you know how that goes. From the various videos, etc., from Jay, we have this one called Salute to Magic. Wow. Many of you will know that this show is recorded, and then it goes up on the SAM Showcase, and then on channel 14 and on channel 20, which is the SAM channel on Aber TV. The reason I'm bringing that up is because, yes, he's an old friend and I've known him a long time, but I have to say, this is going to embarrass the hell out of him, but I'm going to say it. I always, whether I like it or not, subconsciously watch magic, wearing my directors or producers or even performers hat. There are very few people on this planet, probably 3, and he's one of them, that I can watch what he does and feel like a layperson. That to me is astounding. So I urge you to watch this clip, because it is a masterclass in kinesics, applause cues, how to use a stage, and everything else that you need to know to be the consummate artist. Sorry about embarrassing you, Jay, but you know, it needs saying, man. It just needs saying. You know, it just needs saying.
Thank you, Tony, Anthony.
Okay.
We're so good, comfortable as friends. Excuse me,
Yeah, yeah,
Anthony.
exactly. Yeah, of
Of
course,
course.
sure.
Yeah. Look, that was the show I was emceeing. It was the Salute to Magic, which was I think the 102nd or something. I mean, this was a long running show, and I was really honored to have been asked to be the MC on this a few years back. And I'll give credit where it's due. I always believe in acknowledging those who've inspired me. And the gentleman also who I worked at the Magic Shop, Hollywood Magic back in the day, Jonathan Neal Brown at the time. Now he's known as Jonathan Neal. He was aspects of that routine are what inspired me to develop that whole routine. So again, I simply acknowledge how we all gather that Jeet Kune Do idea. We're taking the best to create our own different routines and our own style. So it's an honor that you appreciate that.
Not at all. And, you know, talking about giving credit and appreciating things, I mean, he couldn't be here today because he's got to be doing something else. My son first met you also back in Falkland, you know, back in the what's that, about 20 something years ago. I don't know. Yeah, whatever it was. And you had invited us to come up to perform. And on that theme, my son actually learned a great deal from you. You know, backstage, on stage, watching you and so on. The reason I'm bringing that up is because it was, to me, and I think you and I have spoken about this before, probably one of the greatest gigs ever. Well, we had Pat Page in it, we had Ali Bongo, we had David Goldrake, a ton of other, you know, names. It was produced by the legendary Mark Fiskin, who is a 2,500-year-old wizard, as you know, Cramus next Ophiuchus, yourself, with a lot of work from the funding from the Scottish Trust or some such thing, and we did it at a palace, at Falkland Palace. Then the reason I'm bringing that up, because I think some of the folks may like to know about this. Apart from all your kindnesses there, and you know, you and Mark and everybody else, which is great. We had so much fun. And I'm very honored. In fact, I wrote an article for the Magic Circle, which I think we're going to pull up. I mean, you can't read it, but it doesn't matter. It's there. It's a black and white thing. Oh, there it is. The Palace of Magic. That's what it was called. And I said this at the beginning of the show, and if you read what they highlighted, J. Scott Berry was seen to be in more than 3 places at one time, and that's not all. At each performing venue, he was seen performing a totally different act. That's what we did, and you guys in the audience are going to go, nah, really? And it was, yeah, really, trust me, I was there. How this guy does it, I don't know. But anyway, we have another one. In fact, there's a black and white one there down below of David Goldrake, who had his own show in Vegas. Jay, myself in the middle, and Pat Page. We have a picture of the character in the middle called by the Hebrew name of Zadok, which in English is Zadok. I don't know if we can bring that up somewhere. This character, if we can bring that up, there he is, yours truly, was inspired by Jay. You know, I had never got this character before, but he inspired me to do it. And the night before, there's a picture which I treasure, taken in Jay's living room in Falkland. Some of you may have seen it, and that's myself, Pat Page, and Ali Bongo sitting in Jay's living room. And that's just totally amazing, just being able to hang out with him. Pat and I go back a long way. He was my mentor and dear friend. And the reason I pulled this picture up, and what you cannot see, is in the next room, there's Jay and my son, and they're playing guitar, and he's teaching my son some licks on the guitar. This is the night before the show. This is the kind of guy that, you know, I called my pal. That's it. Do we have any other pictures of Falkland? Because I know we have a cool clip somewhere. We have another one coming up apart from this one. I seem to recall we have perhaps one more. Okay. This one. I told you it was a fun show. This gig was a whole weekend. It wasn't just one show. There were half a dozen shows going on in different places all weekend. And this was a huge palace in the grounds, right? And Ali Bongo and I, well, mostly me, because I'm a rotten SOB, like, I'd grab Pat Page and shut him in this dungeon and said, get out of it. And Ali on the left, as you can see, respect and blessings for his memory, which is cracking up. So these are kind of like wonderful, wonderful memories, none of which would have been possible without Jay inviting me and my son to, fly down and, do this gig up in Scotland. Well, do you want to tell us a little bit about this gig? Because I know we've got a couple of other things that we want to talk about to do with this, but tell us a little bit about this gig, Jay.
Thank you, Anthony. And boy, what fantastic memories. That's all I can say is it was just absolutely priceless. As you mentioned, Mark Fiskin and I produced this magic festival and built it up. So the first year it was like 600 people came. The second year we had 2,000. Third year we had over 10,000 people, lay people. Then that was what you were basically saying, and that we had these marquees and tents set up around the grounds. We performed inside. Scott Cuthbertson is here. He was there from the beginning,
right?
And also great mate. And it was this amazing opportunity, as you said. Again, I'll simply build upon what you said. Not only did we have the participation of some of the absolute grandmasters. Pavel came in.
Yes.
Flip came in and over. We had yourself, we had Ali, we had Patrick Page, and many others. But we also had some of the unknowns who now it was this perfect meeting of the grandmasters and the up and coming. And we had Paul DeBeck, he was on every one of the festivals. David Goldrake, as you mentioned, who I mentored early on. He was he brought me in 10 years before, probably 10 years before that, and I started mentoring with him. So how it built, how it played. Luckily, I grew up in theater. I grew up in a theater background and music, and of course magic and all of this. So it gave me the pieces necessary to assist in the production, the coordination. It's a big difference to try to get on stage and do a show versus coordinating all of that. So it was just an outstanding time, incredible experience for all who were there.
It was. You mentioning some great names of some of our pals up in Scotland, and I remember as Zadok in costume wielding this gigantic broadsword. I mean, it must have been easily about 5 feet long from hilt to tip, that belonged to Mike Macmillan.
Claymore, laddie.
That's
was
it.
A claymore.
No, it wasn't, I tell you. It was a broadsword. It was a broadsword. Yeah. No, this belonged to Mike Macmillan. And I remember that very well. I said, well, let me play with your sword. And I was out in the grounds and he went, it's a bit heavy. And I said, no, I can handle that. I picked it up and I fell over. I know, I actually fell over with trying to wield this sword. I actually fell over. Let's clamber back up again. And it was a lot of fun. But we want to share that. But one of the most important things, I think there's a lovely story which I want you to tell that involves you and Pat Page, not in Falkland, but somewhere else. And you were kind enough to send me a lot of clips, including Johnny Thompson and others, which you've called the Giants of Magic. And because of Falkland and my love, and indeed yours and everybody else's, for dear Pat Page, I thought we'd play the clip that you put together, which was really a tribute clip to you called the Giants of Magic with Pat Page. I think folks would love to see what you've done and put together on that. I love it. So, let's just go to that, shall we?
From the moment I first saw Patrick Page at the Magic Castle in 1979 until my last show with him some 30 years later, he was an inspiration. Pat was the epitome of the consummate professional as an entertainer, master magician, and teacher. In fact, there was never a time that I didn't enjoy his company, both as a friend, mentor, and colleague. I vividly remember seeing him lecture that first time, not long after joining the Magic Castle Junior Group. Of course, at the time, I was a cocky young buck, quite sure that I knew everything. Well, it took only 15 minutes for this Scotsman to show me how little I actually knew, and it was a lesson I never forgot. He was impeccable in every way. I recall being at a complete loss to explain the miracles that he performed. Then, when he actually explained them, I was even more impressed. The simplicity and sheer genius was like nothing I had ever seen. He came into Hollywood Magic the following day where I worked. I timidly introduced myself, saying how blown away I was. He just smiled, shrugged his shoulders, and let out a big laugh, saying, "Huh, well, that's the idea, isn't it?" And he was right, of course. I was at once amazed and inspired by his performance. Pure and simple, that was the idea. I met him numerous times over the following years in the US and Europe, and we became good friends. He was always jovial and very gracious in sharing his latest effect or helpful suggestions. When I was casting for the second annual Palace of Magic Festival, I called him up to see if he would join us. Without even asking about the fee, he agreed. From that moment, he was part of the team, and we performed countless shows together at Falkland Palace, Dalgety Castle, and Stirling Castle. What impressed me most about Patrick was that he was always in top form. As he got older, he got better. He was a regular at the 4F conventions, which showcased the finest in sleight of hand performers from around the world. It didn't seem to matter if he used coins, cards, rings, or ropes. They were always magic in his hands. Plus, he was one of the few master manipulators whose personality transcended the technique and effects. Patrick always seemed to be having fun on stage, and as a result, he was always fun to watch. My most treasured memory with Patrick was in 2006, in Poland, of all places. He and I were the co-stars of the Kowalski Club's convention. We both flew in on the same plane from London, and I'll admit that neither one of us really knew what we were getting into. I had met the organizer, Jerzy Stanek, in 1997 at the FISM in Dresden. Patrick, as usual, had simply accepted the gig sight unseen. So it was with no small amount of trepidation that we arrived at the Warsaw airport. And what followed was one of the best and most carefully conceived ruses I have ever experienced. Jerzy had told us to meet him at the cafe just past customs. When Pat and I arrived, nobody was there. After about 10 minutes of waiting, Jerzy shows up, clearly frustrated. He asked us to wait a few minutes and ran off. Pat and I looked at each other thinking that this whole thing might not have been such a good idea. Jerzy showed up again, explaining that our ride hadn't arrived and if we were okay with driving in the back of a pickup truck. I asked him how far it was. He said, "Oh, just a few hours." Now, mind you, it was mid-October and already past sunset. Patrick looked at him as if to say, "You've got to be joking." Well, Jerzy ran off again. Pat and I were left at an utter loss, thinking, how could this guy possibly be so disorganized? We even discussed just getting back on the next plane and flying home. As if on cue, Jerzy reappeared, again quite flustered, saying he had arranged for a friend to drive us and apologized that it was a very small car and we'd all have to squeeze in. And without even a hint of what was to come, he beckoned us to follow. And what happened next was something I will never forget. Pat and I walked through the gates to a full-on VIP red carpet welcome, complete with paparazzi, bodyguards, and a stretch limousine. It was truly unbelievable. Needless to say, Pat and I were utterly floored. Jerzy just smiled, beaming from ear to ear, knowing full well that he had completely fooled us. From there on, everything was first class, and we were given the royal treatment. The convention was great fun, and as Pat and I flew back to the UK, we were still shaking our heads in disbelief. Every time we met after that, we would relive the story of our visit to Poland, laughing at the absurdity of it all. Even Pat would admit that he had never been treated so well or ever been so surprised. Truth be told, had I not experienced it firsthand, I never would have believed it. And so, when I got the word that Patrick had left us to journey on to the great magic castle in the sky, I could only wonder and hope that he was receiving a similar and well-deserved welcome. So thank you, Patrick, for that lesson you taught a young man so long ago, and for all the inspiration you gave to me and so many others during your time here. In my heart and mind, you will always be one of the all-time greats.
Just wow. Just wow. How could we not, mention Pat Page? I know the show is about Jay, but you know what? Pat, I met him, God, my early 20s, about 50 something years ago, when he was working the counter at Davenport's in Great Russell Street before moved, etc. So, you know, we had to put that in. And when I saw this clip, I said to Jay, do you mind if we do it? He said, no, not at all. I'd love. So, you know, that's something, I guess, really, we're going beyond the magician. We're going beyond everything and just sharing two guys who have a tremendous love for not only a great master, but a wonderful human being. Would you agree with that, Jay?
Yeah, without question. You know, you try to put to encapsulate even in this was one of the many what I called the On the Shoulders of Giants clips that I put together for the Art of Wonder series, the web series that I produced last year. And for me, they were the highlight. I mean, it's great for me to say, here's what I can do, here's what I can perform. But as I do it, I fully recognize all the greats who inspired me. And in many ways, it is that humbling experience to realize that, you know, we're all in service of the art. All the great, you know, we're all, and we've all stood on the shoulders of giants. Ali Bongo, Patrick Page, both of them would tell stories of who they were inspired by. And we're really passing this down. We're simply, you know, having our time here in the sun, doing the best we can, and then passing on these stories.
Absolutely. I mean, in one of those clips, there was a still where we had everybody there: Helmut and Doris from Germany, Paul de Beck, myself, Mark Fiskin as Kramus, the 2,500-year-old wizard, Mike Macmillan with his big sword, and you know, and then was you, Pat, and Ali on kind of like on the grass, and then Paul de Beck, and you know, all these great things. I mean, why are we, you know, talking about these memories on a show like this? Well, because there's a lot of young people here as well and on this show, and a lot of people who, shall we say, are not total pros. You know, they do shows and etc. But it's important, as you've said, and we wanted to get this across in the show. It doesn't matter if you've won FISM like you, etc., or, you know, you've been the inspiration to my son. He's in the picture. He's a kid with a long hair. Now I've grown mine, as you have. He's got his. So we're getting younger and he's getting older. But that was the important thing. I want to take you, in fact, while we're talking about that, to something a little bit outside of magic, but it does influence our magic greatly. And that is our deep love for the esoteric and things beyond that, everything from the Kabbalah to the teachings of Edward Case, which I happen to know your grandfather inspired you with when you were really just a little guy. I mean, you know, just a boy, just a young boy. I want to pull up a clip, in fact, that you inspired me to find by Claude Bernard. I mean, how wonderful is that? Applying to magicians. And I urge you to go look up Claude Bernard if you have not heard the name. This is a remarkable man who has written some amazing things. One of the things he said is, we can learn nothing unless we proceed from the known to the unknown. So how about that? That, in my humble opinion, is probably a good jumping off point at anywhere in our magic careers, because we all have that. We go, yeah, I know how to do that. We know I've done that. But the moment you unlearn, you learn. I was talking earlier on to Most Illustrious, our president, about a particular thing you've done with a particular common object that we use. I mean, I'd be careful what I say here because there may be a few lay people. And you just kind of like reinvented the whole damn thing. And, you know, it's just unbelievable. So putting aside what we know to open up to learning the unknown. Now, I know you're a philosopher, you love the esoteric like myself, and we, you know, delve into everybody from Claude Bernard to Carl Sagan to Edward Casey, etc., that we both do, and that influences our magic. What are your thoughts that you want to share with everybody else on that, Jay?
Thank you, Anthony. Well, interestingly enough, that's a good way to start. I grew up with science. My father is one of the world preeminent atmospheric physicists. I was coloring in copies of Scientific American when I was like literally scribbling in those when I was 2 years old. So science was just every aspect. I went out not gliding, sailplaning with him. He was very interested in aerodynamics. So that set the pace. He was also a presenter at the Atmospherium Planetarium in Reno, Nevada. So after school, for many years running, I would walk to this planetarium and sit day after day and watch these shows. And that created this entire mindset of discovery. And to me, that's where magic and science are really not that far apart. They're why I coined the term illusioneering. You know, I've always thought, all right, of course there's a science behind the magic, the science of the illusion, how we develop it. And so I've always seen it as this beautiful balance of science and art. And we're always discovering, we're always learning. Science is this continuum. Magic is a continuum. We're always learning. And the goal, I think, is to always keep our minds open, to always ask the questions, always, well, what else? What else is there? Great, we see what is, let's discover more.
Indeed, because and you walk the talk, because I know that you do a fair amount of mentoring. I kind of not personally, but met one of your mentors and one of your students in Texas, and you know, to my way of thinking, it's not just semantics. Mentoring is not teaching, it's not instructing. It's actually finding what the student of whatever topic it may be has, and bringing that potential out. It's more bringing that out for them rather than trying to cram them full of stuff. I mean, I know that's your philosophy on mentoring, and you do quite a bit of that, right?
Well, thank you. Yes. What I find interesting now, if we wind the clock back 1 year ago, I think all of us, anyone who was a pro, we watched all of our bookings pretty much disappear. They just sort of evaporated. It was this amazing, like, oh, and it was this blank slate. And I love the Confucius philosophy of that within every crisis, there's an opportunity. So that was I thought, all right, after you lick your wounds and think, oh my goodness, how am I going to pay my bills next month? You kind of process that. I thought, all right, let's look for the opportunity. And I immediately, like many, say, all right, let's start looking at the online. Yeah, I've never stopped learning. One of my personal quotes is that one of the best things I ever learned is to never stop learning. And so I was able to pull together my own technical skills and start learning about these online presentations. And although I find the Zoom shows, I prefer live, naturally. There's nothing like a live show.
Right.
But the Zoom mentoring and the Zoom lectures offer a phenomenal opportunity that didn't really exist. I mean, it existed, but none of us really dove on it. So now I've got 4 main students that I'm mentoring around the world, one in Singapore, one in Australia, one in Texas, one in Europe. And it would never have happened. I mean, literally, I always like stepping back and going, all right, if this horrible thing or this tragedy hadn't taken place, what good things wouldn't have come out of it? And yeah, the gentleman you're discussing came in as a very talented amateur. I mean, he came to me and we talked. As always, I say, let's set the goals. My criteria is, are you going to make a commitment to excellence? Because to me, that's it. I'm not going to take my time and energy unless someone else is willing to step up. And in his case, it's extraordinary. We've had 35, I think we're coming on our 35th hour sessions almost every single week for 7 months. And I watched him progress and progress and progress. And he surprises me. And this is not just him, these are others of the students. I love it when they surprise me. They'll take one of my ideas or one of that, and they'll come back and say, well, what about this? And wow. So, and now he's opening his own show at a Texas, as soon as things are opening up in the US as well, but specifically Texas, he's basically now turning pro within 6-7 months. So instead of spending that same amount, $1,000 or whatever, on a couple of electronic tricks, he has this invaluable body of knowledge and experience that has created a foundation for which, you know, I can only say we're looking at one of the, you know, up and coming masters of the art.
Well, you know, you now, I think, are going to be lecturing in Norway, in Finland. I think Elmo, our International Assembly member from Finland, if I remember rightly, is in the audience. I had a quick lunch at the gallery. And I think you've got the 3 of the clubs in Scotland as well. But you've also been doing another thing. While we've had this lockdown, something you told me struck me, and I thought, yeah, this is it. This is really what makes the pro. instead of going, oh my God, I got no bookings, and let me practice the double lift till, my fingers fall off, you were actually using that time to get ready for the next show. And when it was ready, you were out there, boom, doing live shows.
Well, this is it. We're all given that same amount of time. And this is to simply go back to, as you talk about the philosophy, but it is the philosophy of the mind. How do we control ourselves? And I looked at it and thought, all right, let's use this opportunity. And I stayed in shape. This is what I'm telling everyone. Stay in shape. Use the chance to learn some new stuff. I personally took a number of things that I had on the perennial back burner. Well, when I get a chance, I'll do that. I'll bring that. And I immediately started pulling up routines and creating. And then within that, and then the teaching, I was teaching the students this, it became this real dynamic process of then I had to be in top form because I was naturally teaching and presenting the Art of Wonder web series. But I knew it's like the surfer in the water. There's no waves, there's no flat, but I'm going to get out in the water. I'm going to wait for that wave. And that's what happened. Basically, we opened up in Australia. We opened up briefly in October. It was just this hint. And so I got a few shows and then we locked down. And then same thing in December. And then January, it sort of went wide open. And I dove on it. It's like every single show I got offered, I didn't care if it was kids, whether it was corporate, I took every single one, every single paying show that came up in January. And funny enough, a lot of the shows came to me because the agents booking were saying, well, we usually work with so-and-so, but he's not ready. That magician isn't, and they're like going, and every time I said yes, I picked the show up. And so I did over 30 shows in January. A lot of them are like 90-minute. These are full on, whether it was evening for corporate, or as I say, I don't care if it was a kid's birthday party. Yes, it was this extraordinary thing where the more shows I took, the more came, and that created this giant snowball of leading into 2021, which I'm still writing it. So I'm right at this point where, as you say, I'm doing these lectures. The Zoom lectures are amazing. I've set up a complete multi-camera OBS-based studio for teaching and for the lectures. And now we can reach out. You see, I've basically set up this entire virtual world lecture tour for this year, and I'm just fitting those between the shows. So it's really exciting to find this natural balance between the live and the virtual shows.
Well, I happen to think, and I think this is something Abby McBride, Jeff McBride's wife, told me about a couple of months ago. She said, how wonderful it is that we have these new technology. And the future is going to be a mix of new technologies like we're doing now, Zoom shows, probably, 1,000 times better with new technology. I don't know. I don't understand these things at all. And a mixture of, live performances as well. And we are probably the only performing artists who can make full use of this because of the nature of what we do. If you're a musician, well, yeah, maybe. If you're some other performing artist, yeah, maybe. If you're a fire eater, yeah, okay, it kind of works. But with this, and I know a lot of people from Joe Turner to a number of other folks who have, taken this to the next level, indeed, as you have. So if I may probably emphasize what you were just saying, use the time well, get yourself ready. So if somebody calls you and goes, can you do a show tomorrow night? You're going, yeah, rather than, oh my God, what am I going to do? I have to laugh sometimes on one of the particular magic pages we belong to, where you'll get every now and again a question by somebody, I've got booked for this show, whatever. What effects do you think I should do? And, I'm like, dude, you shouldn't be doing this. You really shouldn't. If you don't know that, you have to come onto a magic page to ask. You're not ready. You're not ready. But anyway, hey, different strokes and so on for different folks. Well, I want to get to the point now because, believe it or not, we're kind of like almost 10 minutes away from the hour, so to speak. What I want to do here is you were very kind in our conversations getting ready for this show over several weeks. you were very kind. And you said, look, I'd like to walk the talk and do a little giveaway to one person in the audience. And I went, well, that's very kind of you. You don't have to do that, but it's very kind that you do. However, I think it's probably interesting if the one person earns it. So what I'm going to do is ask everybody to pay attention, and I'm going to ask a question. If you know the answer, and then we're going to open it up in a minute, the chat, okay, in a little bit, write your answer, not to everybody, but to a gentleman called Brett Soll. That's BRETSOHL. Send it privately in a message, the answer to Brett. Brett will then take the first 5 correct answers and just pull one out of the hat. The first one out of the hat wins these amazing things that Jay is going to share. I'm not even sure what it is. I think you got a bunch of downloads and effects and all sorts of things, right? Here's the question. Some time ago, a young man called Jeff McBride, through the work of his manager, stroke friend, agent Tobias Beckwith, got him a gig on a science fiction show, which had to do with Star Trek, etc. And he played Goran, which was would you believe, a magician of sorts. This show was a spin-off from Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek. Now, here's the question. What device has J. Scott Berry put together that has the same name as a function on the USS Enterprise? Come on, think about it, okay? We're magicians. Yeah, they don't have time to go Google it, right? Okay, right, yeah. Okay, the USS Enterprise had a function, right? Where Kirk would go, Scotty, I need you to put on the whatever, the thing. And Scotty would, aye, Captain, and he would do it in a Scottish accent, which was great for an Irishman as an actor. But you've got a device that you've named the same thing. You've got a device. You're giving them clues, aren't you, Jay? You're giving them clues with that. You son of a whatever. You're just giving them clues. Well, come on, man. You've got to have some serious fun. You got to laugh. It's not all just sitting there, watching stuff. Okay, now chat is open. Okay, off you go. There he is. He's doing stuff. While he's doing stuff, do you need some time to go and switch over and change a battery or something, Jay? Because we'll play a clip now.
I can do that in a moment.
Okay. Go on, I'll let you do it.
While we're having fun with this.
Okay. All right. Let me go. All right. Do it again while I type the answer for. Jeez, very unprofessional of me. I'm cracking up here. I'm cracking up. I'm sorry.
While we're waiting, I'll jump in and say the prize package. Now,
yes,
last year, as part of the, if I may, last year, as part of the Art of Wonder, I produced the 9 web episode, 2-hour, 3-hour episodes in this web series. But the main core of it was 55 new digital downloads that I produced right in this room, edited just in the other room. So these now, a lot of my classic stuff as well as some brand new stuff. And what I've done is I've put together a real good $100 package of those. And the winner, I'm very flexible. If the winner wants to pick and choose, that's perfectly fine as well. But yeah, again, crisis to opportunity. I kept saying, one of these days I have to produce some of these downloads. One of these, and as soon as it was like no more shows, I was like, well, get off your butt, Jay, and do it. So,
well, that's extremely generous and kind of you. We talked about it. You said, no, I want to do this. I want to share. I want to walk the talk. And I said, well, how? That's really kind of you. So I racked my brains to think, well, what can I come up with? And then I went, aha, yeah, that's it. I got it. Let's do it. Right. So anybody who knows me well knows I love mischief. But no, hey, it's a fun question, but no, it's a serious one, and there's a serious prize and so on. Yeah. So Brett's going, he still needs an answer. Nobody's giving him an answer. Okay. Honest, I did send it to you.
Okay.
Most illustrious.
Okay. I got it now.
You got it? You got it?
Got it now.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me get the chats.
Okay. Oh, okay, fine. Right. Well, you got it. Okay. Anybody come up with anything correct yet?
Well, we got plenty with the correct one. Let me go back and get the first 5 together.
All right.
Okay?
While you're doing that, we have a really other nice video clip, which I kind of picked it from all the different ones that Jay sent me, I spent hours watching all of them, and I thought this would be kind of cool one to kind of almost end on, in a way. Well, say almost end, because we're going to jump to the meet and greet after this and go straight to, you can, talk to Jay via the chat or turn your mics on and so on. Anyway, while Brett is looking at that and doing what Brett does best, let's just play the clip from Asheville.
See something else? You see, because I reckon anyone who says there's no such thing as real magic simply doesn't understand what real magic is. Oh, that really freaks me out. There we go. Now that's as close as you can get. This is true close up magic, right? You're seeing everything as clean as can be. Now this is the part. Wow. The magician opens up our eyes to the wonders all around us, using coins and cards, cups, rings, and silks to inspire and astound us. Now, some may that was it. You were taking center stage. I love it. Oh, but I wasn't finished. Let me finish here. Okay, because we're pushing through here and pushing through here. Just like that. Now, this is the really freaky part because everyone presumes. But that's thank you very much.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to you because I know you want to say a few words about that, Jay.
Okay. This is one of my favorite clips because it's something you could have never rehearsed. But yeah, this is the beauty of magic. Now, I have a handful of real strong kind of philosophies. One is to always stay in the moment. No matter how much you've rehearsed, every show is an improv, especially when you get people on stage. And again, I'm going to turn back to when I first saw Paul Daniels perform. It was at the 1988 Blackpool Convention. I mean, I didn't grow up. In the UK, everyone grew up with him. In the US, we sort of heard about him. There was no YouTube, so I had never really seen him perform. But besides, he was emceeing the show. It was natural. So to me, it was extraordinary how well he dealt with the volunteers on stage. I watched him, and it was like, to me, it was a master class in how to bring people on, how to let them be the stars. No matter what happens, you just roll with it. You become this bomb-proof anchor on stage, but you let things happen. And that's where this clip to me is very much an homage to Paul Daniels, because I learned so much watching how calm and cool and playful he was as an MC and performer. And here I had two people up on stage. Clearly, the one taller young man his brain was cooked. You hit this point where people just I'm showing things happening right in front of him.
Right.
And how he reacted, it made the entire show funny. And you just watch this and think you could never have planned for this, which is why don't mail in a show. Stay in the moment. react in that spontaneous moment, and something greater, the synergy will come out of it generally.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That's one of the reasons, in fact, why I pulled that clip up and the previous other clips, because as I said earlier on, again, I'm going to embarrass you a little bit, but you know what needs saying? There are things in that very first clip of you working. Of course, we had the one with Pat, but I don't mean that. The very first one, and then this one, where if people watch the recording again, as I've said, Channel 14 and Channel 20, SAM channel on Ever TV, or the showcase, which I will post when it's ready, there is a lot to be learned from you doing that. Because I had to figure out a way of how do I get you to teach, or not teach, but in parentheses, share some of the things with our audience today, because, trying to do all of that with you and cover all of the fun things we've done together and all the fun things you've done elsewhere would take 10 to 12 hours. So I tried okay, how can we encapsulate this here and maybe capture some of that in a few clips? And hopefully I've done that. Now, I think we're coming to that lovely hour where we have to kind of wrap this part of the show, but Most Illustrious will open the chat and the microphone shortly for the meet and greet, or schmooze as he calls it, which I kind of like. It's a nice Yiddish word. I love it. So anyway, and
Do you want your winners?
Yes, just gonna be reading my mind again. Brett. Good for you, sir. I can tell why you're good, man. Yeah, go ahead. One winner, only one winner, one person. You pull one person.
Out of our top 5, these are in random order, okay? Craig Meyer, Ivan Formosa, Ian Cummings, Jonas Carlson, and Kevin Smith. Jay, do me a favor. Give me a number between 1 and 5. I've got these numbers randomly picked, okay?
3.
I'm sorry, say again?
3.
3. Your winner is Kevin Smith.
Wow, congratulations, Kevin. Well done. And Kevin, would you please, in a private chat, send your email to me, to Brett, and to Most Illustrious. That's Joel Batman Zawitsky, okay? Also in a private chat to Jay, because he's going to send you the stuff. So in a privately to direct message to all of us. That way we all have your email, especially Jay, and he can get your prize to you. So congratulations, commiserations to all you.
Oh,
folks.
also, just so everybody knows, the correct answer was cloaking device, just so everybody knows.
Right.
And
That's the answer.
And the nerd of me let you know it was on Deep Space Nine, and the ship was the Defiant. So thank you very much. Back to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah. Well, see, it's why we got Brett. I mean, the guy knows stuff. He knows how to do stuff. That's great. Right. Well, that was it. It's a cloaking device. Now, we're not going to demonstrate it here because if you want to know what it is, it's an adaptation of something that already existed from Japan. I will say no more. I was first fooled by it with my dear pal Dan Garrett, who was a past national president of the SAM. Jay, in his usual inimitable fashion, has taken it kind of like beyond into something else. And when you look at it, you go, holy, whatever. Yeah, that's so obvious. Why didn't anybody think of that before, right? Like he's done with another thing. But anyway, I'm not going to do it in case there's a layperson here. But if you want to know more about it or you want to get one, and quite honestly, it's just a plug, damn right it is, get one. Well, actually, don't. I've got one. I don't want anyone else to have it. No, get one. Get one. It just mind-blowing. So enough of that. Enough of the plug. So real quick, not in any particular order, many thanks to first Vice President of the SAM, Rod Chow, for his words, to Brett Saul, who I amusingly always say rides shotgun on these shows, who's invaluable, and last but not least, of course, to our SAM President, Dr. Joel Zawitsky, for handling all the Zoom stuff and making sure everything just kind of happens, well and perfectly. So thank you all for attending, and last, of course, thanks to Jay. We'll now open up the chat and the mics, and please feel free to chat away to Jay.
Yeah, I'll be opening up just a second here too. I want to say thank you to both you gentlemen. This was outstanding.
Wow,
An outstanding show.
Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And you can all schmooze and mingle.
Joel, I forwarded you Kevin's email address just so you got that. Okay.
Okay, yeah, and you need to get it to Jay, okay?
And Jay got it. Jay got it as well.
Jay's got it as well. Okay, let me very quickly, before everybody else starts, real quick, real quick, let me shoot to gallery. And I'm an old guy. I got a big screen, but I still need these. Okay, to acknowledge, in no particular order, remarkable gentleman and a very dear friend responsible for a number of wonderful magicians on this planet, Mr. Keith Churcher from England, our very own Dean, also responsible for all kinds of things, most of them a lot of fun, and that is Dean George Schindler of the SAM. Oh, my good pal, Tim Wise, who's the CEO of Aber TV and Aber News, where we have channels 14 and channels 20. You should check it out, aber.tv. Mark Collin, who is the chair of the Paranormal Investigation Committee on the SAM. Who else? There's a couple of people you have left. Elmo Huvila from Finland, who is part of our International Assembly. I'm kind of going around just really quickly. Oh, Mr. Oslan Tunza, all the way from the IBM in Turkey. Donna Horn from our Assembly, who's also been on the cover of MUM. Our Life Membership Chair, Mr. Dan Sclair. I need to acknowledge he's here, he's waving at you. I don't know if I'm going to miss anybody out. I probably will. And again, another fine magician and gentleman who frequently promises to buy me some Irish whiskey at the bar at the Magic Circle, and that's Mr. John Ryden. Hello, John, greetings. And of course, from Bunny, Scotland himself, Scott Cuthbertson. Nice to see you, Scott. Yeah, great. So that's me done. And if I've left you out, oh, Daryl Sprout, man, yeah, great to see you, Daryl. Yeah, good pal from good magic pal from Texas. Oh, and Ellie Kelly. Yeah, Ellie, send me a private message. We finally got your email, and I think your prize is gone to you. Let me know if you got it, okay? From the quiz show. I think you won a prize on the quiz show.
All right.
I remember your name. Yeah, okay. Anyway, that's it. So thank you. Oh, and a lady I've never met called Jennifer Graham, who's been on these shows, and I think she first joined us when we had Suzanne the Magician on. Oh, and Ivan Formosa. Let me have a look. Oh, Paul Goodbody. There you are, Paul. Okay. By God, man, you're a damn sight more handsome than your pictures. Yeah. Okay. I had to say that. He's going to send me money.
Okay.
And last but not least, a gentleman wearing purple, which happens to be a color I enjoy, and Jay Scott Berry, all the way from Texas, Mr. Austin Moody. So we have to acknowledge him. Oh, and of course, he's just shown up, and I've just seen him. Our next president of the SAM, in July, he'll be made president. Currently, the president-elect, and that's Mr. Tom Gentile. So you want to wave at us, Tom? There you go.
Sorry, I was late. I was working on another project, but I do want to tell Jay, I play your music all the time.
Cassette.
We never
Cassette.
even
Kids
covered.
don't even know what that is.
No.
It's like-
And you have
it's-
no idea what it takes to play it now.
Thank you for bringing
What
that up,
is it?
Tom. We didn't even cover Jay's talents as a musician and guitar player yet. But anyway, there we are. Ladies and
But it's a
gentlemen, thank you all.
standby.
Can I just leave you? Oh, thank you, John. John says, fantastic evening. Thank you, Anthony. Pleasure, John. Great to see you here, John O'Riordan. Ladies and gentlemen, over to you in chat and the mic. So over to you and Jay. Anybody, questions, whatever in chat and on your mic.
Jay,
So
thank you
glad I'll
very
be able
much.
to watch this later.
I'm sorry, Dan, say again.
I just said, Jay, thank you very much, and I love your magic.
Thank you. My pleasure, Dan. Thanks so much. Cheers. Good to see you. Thanks. Nice picture on the back. You got the Mickey picture behind you. Very, very nice.
Hey, that was really great interview, and it's really good to see you again. And you talk about keeping in shape. You really look like you're kept in shape. You're physically fit and everything, and you look so great. And to see your magic so beautiful, it's just exactly how I remembered it.
Thank you, Rod. It's a pleasure to see you. And I have very vivid memories of visiting you in Vancouver and our time together. And it's just such a pleasure that having come full circle, that here we are able to meet again via this unique medium. So it's a wonderful thing.
Let
Yes,
me
it
just
is.
jump
Thank
in
you,
there.
Jay.
Sorry. Oh, you're welcome, Rod and Jay, obviously. Let me just jump in, please. You gentlemen are going to understand in a moment why. there's a couple of people here that I've just seen on the screen. One of them is my dear, dear, dear sister friend in Texas, PJ Campagna, of course, is an absolutely lovely lady. And another gentleman from Texas, where I first met him in the Texas days, now lives in New York. What a delight to see you, Ken Nebo. Yeah, PJ will know who that is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Looking good, Captain. Looking good. Yeah. So, okay. Yep. Over to you guys. Go ahead.
I'd like to say thank you once again. You guys just never cease to amaze. It's so nice for us to all be able to get together virtually. And Jay, sending you a hug from Texas.
Thanks so much, PJ. It's a pleasure to see you as well. Thanks for joining into this.
Hey, Jay, Jim from Philadelphia. How can we purchase some of your products?
Hi, Jim. Thanks. It's easy to get through me. I'm fairly active on Facebook, so that's the easiest way. I also put my email in a chat. I'm easy to find. I sort of deal everything directly at this point. All the digital downloads are just up on a secure Google Drive. So it's very easy to simply give you access. So you download them. There's no issues with, getting them later or whatever, or you can keep them up. But I try to keep it real straightforward and streamlined. So yeah, good to see you here. And please feel free, follow up if you're on Facebook. If not, again, I put my email in the chat column there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Good to see you.
Who else do I see coming up in and out? And Dylan Murray from Ireland, another international SAM International Assembly member. My good friend Crow, who's a music producer. Oh gosh, yeah, I can't keep up with everybody. So I mean, you guys, this is your time, not mine. Go ahead and chat with Jay.
Jay Scott Berry, this is Tim Wise. How are you, pal?
I'm doing great. Good to see you, Tim. Maestro.
Good to see you, my friend. It's nice to have you. Pardon my appearance. I've been managing my partner. Hang on one second. I'm going to actually break off, but I just wanted to say thanks for being here and thanks for your hard work, buddy.
You're awesome. Thanks so much. Good to see you.
Anybody else, please?
I'll tell you what the Dean is going to do. The Dean is going to be the guest speaker at the Central Connecticut Magicians Association on April 12th at our meeting.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Looking forward to that.
Well, let's tell people what you do, Dan.
As you said before, I'm the Life Membership Chairperson. If you're interested in finding out more about Life Membership, you can go to the magicsam.com. Under the members area, there's a link to click Life Membership, and you can find out more about Life Membership.
Dan also makes beautiful wands.
By the way, while we're talking about all of that, keep the 25th of April free. I'm not going to tell you anymore. Just keep it free. I can assure you, you're going to love it.
It's Lou Johnson over here in Long Island.
Lou, great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Jay. You did a great lecture for the Long Island Mystics back then, and glad to see you're still at it. How about this for a question? How often have you ever blended both music and magic in the same show? Because I'm a juggler and a magician. And I'll tell you, sometimes after doing a frenetic piece of juggling, to calm my muscles down in order to do manipulation, it's just not easy. Is there a certain rules that you do? And when you say to agencies, listen, my magic show is my thing here with my costume a certain way and my props a certain way. And then my musician, for my band and my solo act, that's separate. Or are there times when the money is good enough, you'll say, sure, I can do both in the same show?
Thank you, Lou. That was actually an excellent question. And you sort of answered it right there, didn't you? It's like, if they're willing to pay, we're professionals.
You got to suffer.
Yeah, exactly. As a rule, I generally keep them separate for partly the same reason you mentioned. Agents are very funny. They don't understand. They want to say, hold on, are you a magician or are you a musician? And even with them, I have to sort of go, look, no, think of two artists, and you can book me here or you can book me there. And there have been a few times where I've been asked to do a show where can you do both? And as you kind of suggest, it takes actually more energy and forethought than just a straight magic or music show, because it's how to transition, how to get the audience to understand and stay with you. You know, I'm gonna sing a song, I'm gonna do this and that, sing it too, whatever, and then immediately go over and do the magic, you know, and then say, all right, because it's a different part of the brain, isn't it? It's this, you know, the brain shifts into analytical mode. I'm gonna watch this, man, I'm gonna try to figure this out. Music, oh yeah, wow, I like that song. One of the best, I have to say, one of my best memories was when I was emceeing the 2013 Blackpool convention, so the International Gala. And I just had this idea. I was Scott Cuthbertson. He was my man backstage. He's here. He was this absolute, like the Robin to my Batman. I mean, we were in real time. We were spontaneously watching the shows. Say, all right, how are we gonna fit? You know, if it's a real high energy act, I came on and did something soft and sweet. If it was a real soft act, I came on. So we were planning the show in real time. And we went, okay, this is right before the main closing act. I thought, no, it's silly at this point for me to go on and do magic. We needed to kill 4 minutes of time. And I said, this is the chance. So I went on and sang Hallelujah. And it brought the house down. It was like a juggler in a magic convention. It was just this perfect change up, you know, to say, oh, we've seen him do this. We've seen him do this. All right, now we're good. So that was one of the times in my recollection that balancing the music and magic really worked.
I just want to acknowledge the gentleman who often joins us. He is one of the officials at the IBM in Turkey, Aslan Tunca, Dr. Aslan Tunca, and he just asks, Jay, your friend from Turkey, Mr. İlke Turkan, is here. I wanted to just let you know, in case you didn't. So, I mean, you've obviously got a lot of friends. You can't remember everybody and everybody's name any more than I can. So apparently this gentleman's also from Turkey, and he's here watching the show. So I don't know if you want to wave to him or to Dr. Aslan.
Oh, Ken, thank you so much. I remember you sent me rose jelly, I believe, some years back, because it was one of my favorite things. So yes, I remember you well. Great to see you here. Thanks so much for joining us.
And I don't know if I mentioned him, Ivan Formosa, who I think is originally from Malta, if I've got it right, who now lives in Scotland. Anybody else, please, want to talk to Jay?
I have a question for Jay. Is it true that you hold the unofficial world record for the number of lighting and music cues in about a 6 to 8 minute act?
Whoa, very good question. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think I probably between Jeff McBride and myself, we might split that award, because we both have such attention to detail. You know, we'll go in there, they'll say, oh, it's an 8 minute act. Yeah, turn the lights on or off. No, wait. Here's why don't we try this? And you know, it's theater. You know, theatrical presentation. So yeah, great question.
Little inside joke. I had the pleasure of being with Jay, and one of the things I do is call acts, and he hands me this, and I'm going, all right, so this is for an hour show, right? He goes, no, it's about 6 to 8 minutes.
Yeah, there's people here going to fall off their chair when I say what I'm about to say next, you know. Thank God for meticulous people.
I've learned a lot, as we said, really the idea of giving credit where it's due and standing on the shoulders of giants. Very, very smart mentor of mine years back said a very powerful thing. He said, attention to detail separates the amateur from the professional from the artist.
Right.
And it's right. This perfect little, like, yeah, you're right. It's like, you know, and as artists, I think we're constantly trying to fine tune. It's like this holy grail of presentations where we're always trying to tweak and it's this commitment to excellence that we're bound by. It's sort of this code of honor that I have as a magician.
Yeah, I just want a pigtail or ponytail, whatever on to. I've lost mine. I had my hair. Jay's making me jealous with the hair. I cut mine off.
But you're
a few
making me
years
jealous
back.
with the beard, so we're even.
Yeah. Now, a serious question here. A lot of guys are doing Zoom shows, and that attention to detail, and also that lighting change, that music in a show. How important do you feel that is because of that attention span that most people have, and especially using this medium? Do you feel it is as important as any other part of planning the show?
Yes, I do. It's not the same. I mean, I think we all had to adapt. Anyone who sort of went from live shows to Zoom shows, you have to sort of step all the way back to the drawing board, look at what we have to work with. My whole repertoire has always been built upon strong visual presentations and magic. So I think I had a little bit of an advantage. I mean, I have effects, of course, in a longer show that you need volunteers, and those simply, you have to deal with that in a different way with Zoom shows. But from the technical point of view, for instance, just here, now what I have, I love that it's an old school, no school. I came from old school theater. Now my backdrop here, I've actually got a full floor to ceiling green screen in the next room. And so when I need to go and shift to green screen, I've got, but what I find for the live shows to have an actual physical background, which is nicely lit. So this background here is actually a full, it's not a virtual background. So it's taken a bit, the best of both worlds. Attention to detail is simply I did a lot of test performances, and I said, all right, invite some friends and say, all right, just watch this, give me honest critique. So yeah, sort of a roundabout way of saying that the attention to detail, I think, still holds true. It's just it's a different attention to detail, and it's the willingness to learn. A lot of people have a natural technophobia, which I just sort of like, well, let me jump on YouTube and learn, and 2 or 3 hours of training and learning, and then go back to what I'm doing and saying, all right, how's this going to work? And then, of course, each show, you get better. Be your own critic, look at it and go, what could I have fixed? How could this work better?
I think this is very, very important for people who want to do a Zoom show. Understand, I don't care how many TV shows you've done, even live ones, understand that this is a totally different medium. People watching it, there's a different psychology. And this is like, a personal plea from me to anybody out there doing a Zoom show. Check your backdrop. Don't wear a t-shirt and torn jeans. You're representing, you're representing magic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wear pants.
Yes.
Yeah, try to, it's a character you're performing as. You're just myself, Anthony. Great. Nobody's going to pay money to just watch yourself. They can do that when you walk down to it. Yeah, do that. Get to be. There are a number of people who spring to mind. Obviously, Jay, a wonderful gentleman who's a past president of the IBM, Joe M. Turner. I mean, he got written up in, I think, the New York Times or some such newspaper. I may have got the title wrong, about how to do Zoom shows. I mean, he's really good at it. How to switch cameras and things like that. It's an art form. Would you say, Jay?
Yes. What's happened is we've opened up this interesting whole facet of magic, another sort of side art form that took what we had learned from doing TV shows. I mean, I've done enough TV shows to understand, and you realize that's a different way of presenting because you're usually presenting to a camera. And then on the other hand, trying to get the best of the live shows. But to me, the criteria and that commitment to excellence still is the common denominator. It's like you say, just take a shower, brush your hair. I've seen, like others, I've seen some incredibly well thought out ones, and then some real horrendous ones where you think, why didn't you move that garbage out of the background, or why didn't this? So you're still representing yourself. And as you said, ultimately, you're representing the art of magic.
Yeah.
I think the people in the audience can tell, even if you're not visible from the waist down, if you're not wearing pants.
I can officially say I am wearing pants.
Well,
That makes
anyways,
one of us.
guys,
Yeah,
listen,
Jay just wanted to show off those skinny
I have to
pants.
get going because, I just realized I probably should just, change what I have on here. So I'll say goodbye, guys.
It's okay, Lou. You're in the audience. That's different.
Look at that, torn and everything.
It's
Look at
the one who's
that.
on the
Unbelievable.
Different
camera, the
smile
one who's
on
the
when you have
star.
pants.
But this attention to detail thing is very important. Again, I can only speak personally, and I know Jay and I agree on this. Other folks may not, and that's fine. I will actually do this exactly like a live show. I won't eat anything for 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah.
I'll wear my shoes. I'll wear my socks. I will dress and do everything exactly as if I was going to be sitting there doing a live talk show with somebody. Why do I do that? For me, it just gets me into where I need to be. I'm not necessarily the Darkstone performing character, but it gets me to where I need to be. I feel right. I feel that's just a personal thing. That's just a very personal thing. And I know Jay and a number of other people, particularly every single one of my guests on the Darkstone Dossiers. It's been going a while now, from Mark Paul, Bill Palmer, Suzanne the Magician, Paul Gordon, Jeff McBride, everybody, yes, takes that effort to come on as a guest. I mean,
Anthony, I think a lot of people don't realize, for even shows like this, we start an hour beforehand to make sure everything is correct. That's what makes the difference.
Speaking from the tech side, this show here, now a little bit of backstage stuff. We had issues with the internet on Jay's internet, so we did a workaround to make sure you guys got a good show.
Yep.
So.
I don't know if you know, but you probably do. You've seen it on the news. I mean, in the locale where Jay is, they had some serious flooding. I mentioned it earlier on. Kind of equivalent to Noah and the Ark kind of flooding. I'm being serious. I mean, it was bad. If you've been watching the news, you'll know it was bad. But we said, what do you think? Should we bump the show to another day? And he went, no, good. I'm good. And then even yesterday, we're double checking. This morning, we're double checking. And we still came on. And Brett, who's our super duper shotgun rider and super tech guy for,
nerd.
No, you're a super duper tech guy, for Matt King, Lance Burton, and
they're hometown boys. I got
I know that, but no, still, there's all that effort, done. Even when we do a gala show, which is coming up on April 25th, so this is going to be a good one. I promise you, it's going to be a good one. We're even going to have birthday cake. How are you going to do that on Zoom, Anthony? It's magic. Okay. Whenever we do that, we sometimes have to say to a performer, thank you, but no, send a clip. And I work with him as to how we do the clip. There's a gentleman here from Malta who is also one of our esteemed members of the International Assembly, Brian Rollet. On the last gala show, we had Brian, we had Tim Wise, Kevin James, I can't remember who all else at the moment, Paul Abbey, people like that. Every one of these guys we worked with, and they went, okay, fine. So some was live, some was a clip. Brian's here, I know. Hi, Brian. We're working on getting it right. And this most illustrious, well, I can call him Joel now. We're off camera, but I always call him Joel, but he's most illustrious. That's his title.
He's almost out.
Yeah, almost.
Oh,
almost.
stop!
Oh,
Almost.
And that was
Take me off.
and that was said by his second most illustrious.
Oh, yeah, well, his second most illustrious. Where's he gone? Oh, there he is. Yeah. You only
Tom, you're still in the wings.
I know.
Rod's in the wings. He's the third most
Believe me,
illustrious.
they're going to put me on the plane real quick.
Oh, yeah. We've already done that, haven't we, Tom? Yeah. I've worked you hard already. I've worked you hard already. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else before
May
we
I
wrap?
jump in, Anthony? May I jump in real quick?
No, yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay, I just want to follow. You said it, a very important thing that I just want to make my own comment on, and that's the preparation. I think any professional, anyone is, seasoned performer, there's a ritual that I find. I have this, and there's a count, you're setting, I don't eat before, I do all and I have this personal one that it's ACE, attitude, charisma, enthusiasm. And it's this 5 minute before the show, complete shifting of energy. And it's like, in this case, we're at home, but it's like no matter what happened, you had a fight with your spouse, you tripped over the dog, whatever happened on the way to the show, whatever happened backstage, you do not take it on stage. And this has just been my ritual for years and years. And I take that exact same ritual into these Zoom shows as I go, all right, shift the attitude, get the focus, attitude, boom. Charisma, boom. Charisma is this amazingly magical thing that does transcend.
It does.
Live.
Yes.
It's that live thing. You're going to give it to the camera. I always say that Albert Goshman was not a handsome man, but he was one of the most charismatic men I was ever fortunate enough to work with and know. He just oozed charisma and then enthusiasm. If you're not excited to be there, maybe you shouldn't be. And even if you have to build that up, it's this actor's training. It's like you find that character, you find that zone, and you bring it to the Zoom shows in, slightly different, but it's still the same principles.
And that goes back to that other question, Jay, with a magician or musician. You're trying to portray two different people that you are. Yes, you are still talented, but you exhibit it in different way, and it takes different energies in order to call upon those different skills. So to do it in the same show, you got to suffer.
It's a challenge.
And I want to thank you for lecturing. You came to Springfield, Mass, probably about a year and a half ago, and you were still just the Jay that we remembered from many, many moons ago, I'm going to say.
Nobody lectures like JSB.
Oh, superb. Superb.
John, I think John O'Reilly wanted, not at all. Welcome. Thanks, Darryl. John O'Reilly, I think you wanted to say something, John?
Yeah, I did want to say something. Thank you, Anthony. Jay, we met several years ago in the Circle, and you inspired a lot of people at the Circle, and you inspired a lot of people with your elegant magic. And it was really enjoyable this evening to watch you. And you spoke about learning magic. Do you have any preference of books or DVDs by way of learning?
Thank you, John. First off, it's great to see you here. It's a real pleasure. So very, very much appreciate you joining us. I sort of have this idea that you learn from every possible source. Personally, I learn from every source. I'll go back and watch Charlie Chaplin. I'll go back and watch Paul Daniels tapes. I'll go back and watch many different people. What are the nuances? I remember seeing in London in the mid 80s, Marcel Marceau. I specifically went to see his live show, and I studied it. It's like what makes the great artists, and how do we take nuances from each one? I mentioned earlier that at my first show watching Johnny Thompson and how much I learned from that as a teenager. But he was opening for oh my goodness, I'm going to space on. I just had the name on the tip. Very famous singer. I'll get in a second. I brain blipped on that one. But it was the showmanship. Again, how we look at how the posture, the poise, the showmanship, the charisma, the improvisation. So there's that whole side. And yes, we live in this amazing time where we have these sources, and absolutely the books are this wealth of information. So much has been put on DVD, and now with the digital downloads, never before. I mean, I started out having to learn magic from the library. It's old school, totally old. I remember going in and finding the books in the library, studying them, and not having a mentor for many years. So I think that whatever works, to apply it, is they don't close up any possibility, and always look to others who perhaps know more, or always be open to learning.
Thank you, Jay. And what I think was really impressive tonight, how you give credit to other people, especially mentioned Pat Page tonight, who was a friend, and I think most people were influenced by Pat Page and his magic, and God rest him. Thank you.
Hi.
Go ahead.
I
Please.
have a question, if you any permission. Hi, Jay.
Hey, Ilkan. Great to see you.
He's İlkay Tercan from Turkey.
Hey.
I am so excited to see you now.
Thank you.
I am happy.
Likewise.
I love you, Jay. You have. Do you remember this cassette?
Wow.
Even you haven't.
What are
Even
those?
you haven't got this.
Oh my goodness.
This still working, Jay.
That's crazy.
This is my best investment, and all your DVDs. All I have.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, all your DVDs I have. You are one of my best hero, Jay, you know.
Wow.
And do you remember Rose Jelly I have sent you 10 years ago?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I am very happy now. My curiosity is this. Do you have any plan about making new DVD and new music?
Well, thank you. And I had mentioned I have such great memories of the rose jelly. I mean, what a funny thing. It's 20 years ago or more. We're talking, I think, early email. You know, this is way back. And I said, oh, turkey rose jelly. Next thing I know, a package arrives from Turkey. Oh my goodness. So, yeah, amazing memories, huh? Well, as I said in the discussion in the talk show, I'm actually producing a lot of new material, the digital downloads. I mean, with these videos you showed, you know, these are so old school. I remember working so hard on these and watching every generation go like down 70. You know, you get this. I was on high 8. We shot on high 8, which at the time it was SVHS or high 8, so that was the best. And then you edit it to a third one, you know, to bring it together, and you lose about 50% quality. And then it gets mastered to another VHS. And it was this, oh my gosh. So when I did the Light DVD, one of the very first digitally produced DVDs ever, is I jumped, the Light, fantastic. That was produced using Premiere 1.0. Anyone who knows Premiere, obviously now it's but it was this very first digital, and we had the Sony digital cameras, which were still the tape. So the point being, to make it short, is I've kind of surfed and rolled along with the technology and just embraced it as it comes. And now we're at this point where, I mean, I'm broadcasting my Zoom shows in full HD. I mean, 1920 by 1080, which is just mind-boggling that how far we've come technologically in 25 years. So for me, I'm just going directly with, I don't have any interest in producing DVDs at this point, but all the digital downloads are full res MP3, MP4. So I always tell people, look, if you want to burn them onto a DVD, go for it. Trying to simply find the market seems to be moving towards virtual. I mean, we're all sort of, you know, on either Netflix or whatever to watch our movies anymore. Yes.
I just want to say you this. I am still waiting you here from Turkey. If you visit Turkey, you will be my best guest. Don't forget this, please.
I have not. And it's still on the top of my bucket list. We have tried a few times to arrange to get there. Look, I'm happy to do a Zoom lecture for you guys there as a virtual, but yes, as soon as my next tour of Europe, once things ease up and open, I will be very honored and happy to come visit you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us, Turkan, from Turkey. Full kudos to Dr. Özlem Tunza, who is head of IBM over there, for getting you guys in.
So I have a question for Jay.
Okay.
Since you're doing everything, you said digital, does that mean the old dry ice instructions are available? Because I found my original printed copies and my devices the other day.
Well, your timing is perfect, Ron. Thank you. Here's
This
the
was
thing.
not prearranged.
No, it wasn't at all. No, not at all. I mean, I have continued to perform with the dry ice in shows where it was appropriate. I mean, some places it's simply not realistic. You have to get the physical. Isn't that crazy? There's it is. So right now, the latest presentation I'm creating, it will premiere April 6th here in Australia. It's actually a science and magic show where I'm mixing concepts of science and concepts of magic and trying to show how they relate. And as part of that, I'm breaking out all the dry ice stuff and just completely, you know, from the classic stuff that we know, the handheld dry ice fog machines, to new things and new parts, all part of this 90-minute show. And with that, to get all the way around to answer your question, with that, I will be producing some of the digital downloads to cover the dry ice magic, the fog or the mist magic effects, and bring that all up to date.
Okay, dokie. Well,
Thank you, brother.
yeah, thank you all very much once again. I think we've come to that time where we need to kind of probably wrap it.
Can I make a point? Can I jump in before we finish?
Of course
All
you
right,
can.
you
Jay. Go
mentioned
ahead.
Austin Moody. I'm guessing he's still here. I haven't scrolled over. Now,
I'm still here, Jay.
Hey, he's right.
there
he's
he
right.
is, Austin.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna out Austin right now. I mentioned during the talk show that I have a handful of students that I've been mentoring. I went into detail, and I have to say, Austin has been one of the most talented students I've ever had the pleasure of working with. And I tell you, he's the one. We've done 34 Zoom sessions, and from the very beginning, I saw something. I said, man, you all the raw talent was there. He comes from a background in music. He's done stand-up comedy. A lot of the things that performers struggle with, that stage fright and these other things and being comfortable, he already had, that was already there, passed away. But the commitment to excellence, the attention to detail, and the willingness to put in the work. You know, that's part of it. It's like, you've got to simply be, nobody gets to the upper levels of prestidigitation without putting in the time and the work. So I just want to say, you know, congratulations to you, Austin, and, you know, welcome to this greater continuum of magicians and the Society of American Magicians.
Thank you, Jay. It definitely helps to have a great mentor, though.
Well done, Austin.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well done, Austin. I want to say thank you again to everybody, particularly to my longtime pal Jay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, all, everyone.
Bye.
Fantastic. Good.